Best of r/entitled parents episode 78. Subscribe for edit videos daily. Edit. This was a long time ago so I don't remember every single detail. Background. What's up guys? I just want to say that I've been a long time lurker on this subreddit, and I thought one of these situations would never come, so here I am. This happened a couple of months ago. Also English is my first language, and I'm on PC so roast me all you want in the comments. Roles. So I think that most of you guys know all these roles, but for those of you that don't, here you go. EM. Entitled mom. EK. Entitled kid. W. Worker/cashier. M. Manager. 01 and 02. Officer 1 and Officer 2. F1. Friend 1. F2. Friend 2. F3. Friend 3. Me. Do I really need to tell you this story? So I had just gotten home from school, and earlier that day, some of my friends and I had made a plan to go to get some burgers at a fast food place near our houses. We were looking forward to going there, because it had some pretty darn good burgers. So after a while, I left my house to go to F1's house, where all of us were meeting up. When I got to F1's house, F1, F2, and F3 were already there waiting for me so we could go. So we started walking to the place, and we got inside, gave our orders and sat down at a table. Then, in comes a woman with the "can I speak to your manager" haircut. We thought nothing of her at first, but she became increasingly annoying. She was being loud and acting like a 5-year-old. Her EK was the same. The EK looked to be about 10 or 11. So our food comes, and as we are about to start eating it, we see EM and EK running over to us. Cue the conversation. EM. Hello there. That's some really good looking food you got there. F1. Yes, it is. They sell good burgers and other stuff here. Just about as we thought she was going to go away, her EK started yelling. EK. Moo-me, I am hungry. EM. I know sweetie, wait 1 second. Mommy is gonna sort this out, okay? EK. Hurry up. So then EM turns to us and says what I hoped she wouldn't say. EM. You guys don't look that hungry, so I think we can take your food, right? Me. How about no? EM. You guys are young. I am a single mother with this child. You guys are fully capable of getting up and ordering your food again. When she said this, my friends and I were in disbelief, and could not believe what she had said. There was no reason for her to come up to me and say this to us. Me. I'm sorry lady, but that's not going to happen. My friends and I paid for this food, and we are going to keep it. EM. What did you say to Emmy, you little punk? You can't talk to Emmy like that. Me. Ma'am, please leave us in peace. We are trying to eat, so please go away now. So after I said that, my friends and I proceeded to ignore her and talk amongst each other, but the EM got so mad that she picked up the milkshake I ordered and threatened to pour it over my head. Luckily, W was right behind her and grabbed the milkshake from her and returned it to me. EM. Help, this person is assaulting Emmy. Someone arrest her quickly. So after that, a person in the store called the cops, and as 01 and 02 came into the store. EM. Thank God you're here, officers. This person was assaulting Emmy and these children were doing the same. The officers were looking skeptical as we were sitting there with our food, and W was standing right next to us, and the officers must have been thinking, why would a bunch of kids do that? Later, all the customers in the store took our side, and EM was arrested for attempted assault and false accusations. As EM was being escorted out of the store, she looked at us with a death stare, but my friends and I just smiled and waved. TLDR. EM comes into the store with EK and tries to take our food, but ends up being charged and arrested. Note, thanks for reading. Let me know in the comments if I should write more stories about encounters with EM, because I have some more since this happened. Thank you. Next. Here's another post about my aunt and grand monster. You've previously read about them in several other posts. My mother and my dad met through mutual friends and soon fell in love. Since Grand Monster was obsessed with maintaining complete control over her son's life, she saw it as the only way to secure her future, as her husband, my grandpa, had left her for her sister. She did not like this one damn bit. Surely if another woman came into the picture, her son would stop taking care of her. It's not like my dad was a decent human being who would always be there for her. /s in case it wasn't obvious. She tried every trick in her arsenal to try to tear them apart. From lying to my mom that dad was cheating on her to denouncing my mom as a loose woman because she sometimes played tennis after work. My aunt aided her in her attempts, because that cunt just couldn't bear to see my dad happy. But despite all of their nefarious designs, my mom and dad got married. My mom was a provincial civil services officer and much better educated than my dad. While dad was nothing but proud of her, Grand Monster and aunt constantly taunted him about being outdone by a woman. They also shamed my mom for having a career because women in our family dedicate themselves to their family. My aunt, along with her husband and son, live quite close to my dad's place. Every day after picking up my cousin from school, she would come over and gossip with Grand Monster. When my mom came home from work, she would be expected to cook for aunt's family as well so aunt could pack it up and take it home with her when she left because the poor thing was just so tired. Exactly what strenuous activity the lazy bitch had done that got her so tired was never adequately explained. Finally my dad put his foot down and this nonsense came to an end. Aunt's daily visits and her constant interference in their home, however, continued unabated. In spite of putting up with my aunt and doing whatever Grand Monster demanded to make her feel comfortable, my mom was never made to feel welcome any time she visited aunt's place with my dad. When mom became pregnant with me, Grand Monster and aunt decided to escalate their abuse. Earlier they only tormented her psychologically, now they became physically violent. They would push her, pull her by her hair, slap her, all while she was pregnant. They also tried to make sure she didn't get enough food. Mom and dad usually cooked together in the morning before going off to work, but mom came home a few hours before dad did. Grandmother and aunt either ate up all the food before she got home or they just threw it out. I'm pretty sure they were trying to make her have a miscarriage. For some reason that I'll never be able to understand, mom never told my dad about this. He only found out about this after she had passed away, when he read her diaries. For a long time, I couldn't forgive my dad for not throwing those piles of excrement he called his mother and sister out of his house and his life, after he found out what they had done to his wife. Around 6 years after my mom passed away, my dad and my stepmom got married. Stepmom was divorced from her abusive ex and had sole custody of her child. My stepbrother, Grand Monster, was up to her old ways again, even though she had promised my dad that she would accept his new wife with open arms. I love my dad, but he's an idiot for believing her. My aunt was just as jealous of my stepmom as she had been of my mother. Just like my mother, stepmom is better educated and better looking than aunt. My dad once told me this anecdote about my uncle, aunt's husband, mockingly telling her that once again her position in the family was threatened by the arrival of a superior woman. Whatever would she do now? Dad told me aunt could barely contain her anger. This just provides a brief glimpse into aunt's sick mind. Grand Monster and aunt knew that the most effective way to hurt my stepmom was to hurt my stepbrother. They began to bully him in subtle ways. For example, they would frown if he ever took a second helping of food. They tried to get me to hate him too. I was just a dumb 7-year-old and for some time their plan worked. My stepbrother and I would get into arguments every day, until my dad intervened and got us to be friends again. They also taunted my stepmom for being divorced because good women never leave their husbands and domestic violence is no excuse. One evening, my dad took my stepmom out to dinner and of course, this didn't sit well with the two witches. They tried to convince me to throw a tantrum when dad returned and tell him how sad I was that he had gone out without me. I was 9 at the time and had caught on to their manipulations, so I refused, and was thrashed. When I complained to my dad about it, Grand Monster lied and told him I was punished for being rude. Story of my childhood. One of the creepiest things I had caught Grand Monster doing was standing outside my dad and stepmom's room at night, listening in on an argument they were having, an argument that I'm pretty sure she had caused. There came a point when her abuse and torment got so bad that my stepmom took my stepbrother and moved back in with her mother. She came back only when my uncle was transferred and aunt had to move away with him. I don't blame her one damn bit. Aunt now visited only on weekends and just like with my mom, she sat around and chatted with Grand Monster, while stepmom cooked. And when we visited their place, stepmom and I were expected to do chores. However, as I grew older I began to stand up to them and would often call them out on their bullshit. As I entered my teens, my relationship with stepmom deteriorated, but even though we didn't get along, we always had each other's back when dealing with those two. Aunt did end up getting her comeuppance, but if you ask me, it wasn't nearly enough. Thank you. Next. Since I now have enough karma to post here. Background. So me, my mom and siblings went to New Orleans to visit family. The first airplane ride went great, the second one is here shit hit the fan. Anyways, here are the cast. Me equals the 611th Spartan of Noble Team. M equals the thing that no one needs. NK equals a real chill dude. MM equals my mom. MD equals my dad, the one who arrested the Karen. The story. So we arrived at the second airport with like 3 hours to wait for our next flight. We had gotten to the gate and my mom had me stay with the stuff, so she could go get food with my siblings. So I did what only normal person would do, just chill and play a game in their phone. So I was playing Ludo, Last Day in Earth, when this kid started watching and I looked back to see if my mom was back. She wasn't, but the kid scared me a bit. Me, jumps a bit, oh hey. NK, sorry if I scared you. I just couldn't help but notice your game. What's it about? Me, well it's about the zombie apocalypse. So I start telling the kid about the game. When I finished I kept playing, then the mom walked over and I didn't notice. And I kept playing and I guess I chopped a zombie's head off, then I hear this. M. Gasp, what is that awful game? Me, what? M. That game. Delete it right now. Me, why? M. It has blood in it, so it's turned you violent, so it'll turn my son violent. NK. Mom, please don't do this again. Me. Wait, she's done this before. M. That's none of your business. Now give me the phone. Me. No, it's my property. M. Basically shouting at this point, you need to respect your elders. Now my mom has come back at this point. MM. He does respect his elders. M. And how would you know this? MM. Because he's my son. 1 hour passed and it's time to board. And I got sat next to the nice kid. And he told me how his mom thinks that blood in games turn people violent. So we land in my hometown's airport. So we get off and MD was there to greet us. He had picked up a extra duty shift and had time to kill for a break, so he came to see us. Then the M got off the plane and slapped me in front of my mom and my dad, then tackles the M to the ground. M. Slaps, that's for not giving me the pho. Thank you. Next. A little background. I have a couple of odd-end jobs, one of which is going to different shows and selling things such as shirts, wallets, backpacks, and what could be considered toys. K Karen aka Entitled Mother, EK Entitled Kid, G Gary aka Entitled Father, B Boss. I attended a show one weekend with my boss and the first day went rather smoothly, other than the fact we forgot to pack our snacks and had to spend a ridiculous $16 on 2 pretzels and canned sodas. WTH man, we had sold more than projected for the first day and felt pretty good about the second day. As I'm helping one customer ring up, Karen comes up to the table beside me with Gary and EK. I politely say good morning, y'all, and Kay snaps her head up as EK is making grabby hands towards our Mario and Luigi stuffed backpacks. They look like stuffed animals, but have straps and a zippered pocket that's big enough for maybe some coins. Kay, hey, how much are these? Thank you. Next. I don't leave the house often, and when I do, I usually stay in the car, but the other day, my mom put gas next to this locally owned drive-in burger place and I wanted to get one. So, I grab my cane and hobble over and head inside. There isn't a line, it's kinda deserted, but there's a family of 5 in front of the register ordering and I stand behind them. It is February, super dry cold outside. So I was a little surprised that one of the employees had made a chocolate vanilla swirl ice cream. She had said something about the way it was made and came up to the register just after I ordered. Hey, you want this? She asked me, and I said no thanks. And then, the family's youngest comes up, asking for napkins, and the employee offhandedly asked if he wanted it. Man, this kid's eye lit up and he jumped, shouting, yes, yes. The employee hands it to him and she goes back to making another one. I stepped back, waiting for my food, sitting at the end of an empty booth, when the mother seemed to jump herself. The mother, who isn't small but isn't super obese, but she had heft to her, and stomped her way to the counter. I thought she was trying to break her ankles on her cheap, dirty bright pink flip-flops. She had taken her kid's free ice cream and practically shoved it in the cashier's face. He wasn't the one who made it, and shouted, like for absolutely no reason, "What the fuck is this?" I cursed myself because I left my phone in the car. The poor cashier dude was frizzled. He was like 16 or so, and he stuttered something, and she immediately mocked him, "www what? Speak up, fuckface." My stomach felt in knots. I felt nervous, anxious, and angry for the kid. This woman was goddamn scary. "Mom, it's a chocolate swirl that I messed up." The other employee had come over, probably felt her T-Rex stomps if she didn't hear her psychotic shouting. "Is your son allergic?" The woman practically straddled the counter as she began to shout incoherently at the ice cream maker. I couldn't understand anything she was shouting. It was like Jabba the Hutt gibberish with white woman-esque ghetto slang thrown in there. I did hear, "Does this look like that?" She pointed to one of the Frosty Freeze posters on the wall above the counter. The ice cream maker said, "That's why I gave it to your son, Mom. I didn't charge you." The woman screamed more, adding "My eyes are not aesthetically pleased by your shitty ice cream." Ice cream maker stepped back. She said, "Hey, don't." We both felt that woman was gonna do something. I saw this crazy bitch reel her arm back. By the way, her husband and her kids are just sitting there, the kids pouting. The husband was playing on his phone. So, I got up and took the cone from her hand when her arm stopped pulling back, and, only God knows how and why I did, I tossed it into the trash behind me. "There," I muttered. "It's just ice cream, lady." I am the epitome of shy. I will wander stores on my fucked up knee before I would ask a worker for help. Even if I'm asked, I will say, "No, thanks," and feel anxious until I leave. So I don't know where this came from. I was waiting for the shouts and yells from the woman, but all she did was give me a dirty look and stomp away. Honestly, in most stories I read, the crazy mothers start yelling at anyone who interjects into their tirade, but she didn't say anything to me. The ice cream maker gave me a silent, "Thank you," before she gave me my order, and I just gave her an awkward thumbs up, and I'm still kicking myself for doing that weird shit. I didn't get anything half off, nor did the employees kick in any free burgers, but the one I did order was pretty good. I hadn't been there in ages. Oh, and the family lives one street over from me. My grandma knows them. She says that woman is a grade A bitch. Thank you. Next. Back in college, I used to volunteer on Fridays at a soup kitchen. We would prepare healthy meals and provide table service for about 100 people. While we had our regular volunteers, we would occasionally get people trying to fulfill charity hours for school or court. On one occasion, the organizer thought it would be a good idea to let a whole class of 6th graders come help on the same day. It was chaos. 30 kids all over, hiding in the bathrooms, making fun of the homeless. Yeah. While 8 or so kids seemed sincere, one ended up cutting their hand, freaking out the chaperoning parents. "Parents, no more cutting." Me, "Okay, peel the potatoes and carrots." Another kid cuts themselves. Parents, "No peeling." Me, "Alright, serve the food." Group of 6th grade girls, that guy said her 11-year student had a nice ass. Parents, "No more serving." At this point I tell them to just hang out until clean up. Nope. The parents decide it's time to leave and start harassing the kitchen staff to sign off on the volunteer hours during our busiest time. Eventually the staff member just signs their sheets so they get out of the way. The worst part is, word got out that the soup kitchen was the place to get easy volunteer hours, so we were overwhelmed with children bored out of their minds because they literally were not allowed to do anything. Eventually the coordinators put a limit on the group size, but it really disgusted me that parents would rob their kids of a legitimate charitable experience. Why not sign them up for something they can actually participate in? Why can so many 11-year-olds not peel a potato without peeling off their skin? Thank you. Next. Alrighty, before you read this, make sure you've read the first part to this. I thought I wasn't going to have to make another post about ET, but here we are. After ET came back, I was sure that I was going to have to make a post, but everything was going smoothly. She was avoiding me, but it was going smoothly, until she started trying to find ways to get me in trouble. After she ended each sentence she'd say, "Are you all listening?" and stands up and looks over to where I'm sitting. Yesterday she decided she wanted to really get me in trouble. She looked for every reason for me to slip up. "E.T. Does anyone have a watch?" I stayed quiet and so did everyone else. "E.T. Does anyone have a watch?" E.T. walked over to me and went, "I see that watch on your wrist," and grips my hand tightly and pulls it up from under my desk so my wrist slams on the desk. OP, hey, don't go around touching people and their stuff. "E.T. I asked you before and don't you raise your voice at me." It didn't yell but I was a bit loud since I was startled. "OP, you did not ask for my permission, you just asked for the time, which I don't need to tell you." "E.T. That doesn't give you an excuse to yell at me." "OP, I did not yell at you." "E.T. Don't bother, get up and come with me." I get up and follow her over and she stops me by the door to get a teacher to watch over the class while we're gone, and as she left someone I'm not particularly friends with but I don't mind them says, "She's always like this dude, don't worry about it." I reply with, "Trust me, I know, thank you," and a couple of my friends give me advice. I thank them and like a minute or two later of silence she comes back. "E.T. let's go." She takes me to the guidance counselor first. E.T. explains what happened but she says I slapped her hand and yelled at her. So I said my side of the story and the counselor says she can't take disciplinary actions towards me, but she can redirect us to the principal to get the issue sorted out. I grin from ear to ear. "E.T. that won't be too necessary, just give OP detention." "GC, I'm sorry I can't do that." They go back and forth for a bit and then E.T. gives up. "Alright then, GC, OP, let's take this to the principal then." "E.T. no, get back to class." "OP, no, we came to get this sorted." "E.T. I changed my mind." "OP, well I didn't." "E.T. go to class." "OP, no." So I started walking off to the principal and she follows along grabbing at my shirt every so often. "You can't go, I don't allow you to." I just ignore her and she stops following me and takes out her phone and starts recording me. She keeps asking me questions while staying in place. I make it to the principal and tell him what happened. He looks furious and lets out a sigh. P equals principal. P, alright, OP take a seat. He grabs the intercom speaker and asks for ET to come to his office. When she makes it there, he asks me to leave the office for a bit and I can hear yelling, something about the 5th time this week or something, but it ended with "leave my office, seriously." And a few minutes later she comes out, defeated, and literally says, "FCKUOP," and throws a paper at me. I picked it up, it was empty, and storms off. So I'll let out a "what a DCK" under my breath and the principal sees all this and he goes, "It's fine, you won't be seeing her again." I thank him and he sends me off to class. I tell the person looking over us and she just sits down and tells us to do whatever we want but quietly. So, instead of getting me in trouble, she got fired. Sweet, sweet revenge.